It's a chilly morning in Holland as the teams get ready for qualifying for GT World Challenge Europe, powered by AWS Sprint Cup. It is our second weekend in the championship, having been to Brands Hatch. Now we come to Zandvoort. We had a race yesterday that was certainly a dramatic start. It was won in the end by Patrick Niederhauser and Sven Müller, their second Sprint Cup victory in history. They had one last year and then a win yesterday, giving us three different winners out of the first three races outright. Qualifying yesterday was a little bit quirky in as much as we had a bronze cup car on pole position. Such were the efforts of Bastien Bus. And qualifying is split. We have a mighty entry of over 40 cars, and therefore to give people track space, the first 10 minutes go the way of the Pro and the Gold Cup cars. The second 10-minute stanza is for the silvers and the bronze, and arguably they get the better track conditions because it's just a little bit cleaner once the first wave of cars have done their lap times. As ever, track management and traffic is going to be a factor. It's 10 minutes for each group within qualifying. And as we saw yesterday, even when the session goes green, quite a few teams keep the cars in the pit lane waiting until the last moment before they put the warm tyres on, send the car out, and are ready then to try and do that qualifying time. So it is pretty windy as it was yesterday. It certainly isn't the warmest of mornings. It's not the sunniest either, but we are ready to see what this qualifying session offers and how that's going to affect the grid. And although the groups go independently, you then merge the times together. So it's not that you have the gold and the Pro at the front and then silver and bronze behind, all the times blend in. David Addison and Joe Osborne are trackside. Alexandre Legris is down in the pit lane and getting warmth into rubber this morning. Joe is going to be part of it because it is not the warmest of May days.
Yeah, we're 4 degrees cooler than this time yesterday, and we saw the Pro cars go out first, again, like we are going to do this morning. And it was the second session that was slightly quicker, but the majority of fast times did come from this first session. Here is the layout at Zandvoort. 14 corners, 4.259 kilometres, and we saw lots of action everywhere yesterday. So I wouldn't be able to call where we should keep a high point to keep our attention up, but there was clashes, weren't there, at turns 1, 2 and 3 on that opening lap, and you can see why it's tight and it's twisty out there. I think with cars going in this 10 minutes, going back to that point, we saw Emil Frey go first, didn't we, the 69 car and Vermeulen, and they got balked at the end of that lap, and it really does look like there's one flying lap.
Bias has equal locking, same locking that Charles had for pre-quali. On this set, AWS and TC, it's the same as quali yesterday for Charles. Balance, we've shifted in a better direction for the race, and the car is quite similar, so I think the car will be stronger than we had yesterday for quali. Track temp is slightly cooler, around 5 degrees, maybe slightly more wind, but I think it helps us with the cooler track.
So engineer instruction to Kelvin van der Linde, who will take 32 BMW out on track very shortly. There are the Retronic Porsches. 96 is the winning car of yesterday. 97 is the Silver Cup car of Lurk Hartog and Ishan Pieris, who will drive today. Lurk Hartog, the very rapid Dutchman, the most local of the 4 Dutch drivers that we have within the entry, based about 20 kilometres away. Garage 59's McLaren sitting next in what is a really busy pit lane. And again, the pit window for the races is going to be staggered as well, just to give teams a bit of breathing space. Yeah,
it's so important to get a clean pit stop as soon as you can, almost, as we can see Joel Magnus there in the background. He was second position. Now his teammate Everard will do the job, and be interested to see where he can get that car up to, because it was a super job there. Gold pole position, second overall. Had a good start. This was a car that didn't have a good start. Chris Lullam in today, Vermeulen yesterday. Like I said, they went first. They went with about 7 minutes remaining yesterday, and he got balked, qualified outside the top 10, then got roughed up by a McLaren at turn 3, and it really was hard. We saw a mega overtake from Lullam, didn't we, round the outside at turn 7 in the race, something I've not seen done in real life, but the sim racer seemed to make it work. And yeah, looking towards the end of the pit lane, WRT, that far left car, Charles Verts, van der Linde in it right now, and it's Will McKelvey, the engineer, just giving him some interesting insight as a driver. The locking is equal, so he's talking about front to rear axle, the bias is set, the traction control is set, trying to give the driver a nice positive at the end, saying these cooler track conditions are going to favour us as a driver. Once you get into that solo space of the race car cockpit, you're very much got the demons on your shoulders. And so to have an engineer like Will, nice and calm, just telling you what you need and what you're going to do is positive. So the clock is ticking. checking. We've already a minute in. It is only open to the Pro and Gold cars at the moment. Don't be surprised. The cars are only getting one lap out of these Pirelli DHGs before a drop-off, so they are waiting, and they're trying not to blink first, because the later they go, the cleaner the track will be their logic.
Yeah, no, Ferraris you're looking at, they got roughed up in the race yesterday as well, but they also were, for 69, a bit slow again in the pits, which was their weakness at Brands Hatch. So that's something that the team will be trying to tighten up on. So qualifying underway, and just like yesterday, just like at Brands Hatch, the teams wait and wait and wait. The tyres are in the ovens, being kept as warm as possible. At the last moment, they'll be brought out, bolted onto the car, and out they will go. So really, although you might think 10 minutes isn't very long for a qualifying session, they don't really have that. They have about 5 minutes in real terms to try to get one lap out of the tyres. And depending on the venue, therefore, you've got to be really careful, not only in terms of traffic management, but track limit management as well. Because if you are just banking on one flying lap and you exceed track limits and lose the lap time, then not only does the session all unravel, but so does the race. Around here, qualifying up near the front, absolutely vital. It was a messy start yesterday. Consul Lapalainen's Ferrari got edged out onto the grass. It ripped bodywork off. It did damage to the underside of the car. We had around about 10 cars retiring for myriad reasons, but mainly to do with damage. The Ford Mustang, for example, of Yusufa Vega was in the gravel early on with a lot of damage. He took the Stella Corvette with him for company because the car was so damaged he couldn't turn and therefore wallop the Corvette. So we've had a number of teams out this morning doing the so-called hardship lap, all the overnight repairs done, and to make sure the car is good for qualifying, they've been given a lap just to do a systems check effectively. There you have the number 9 Mercedes that is going to be Maxime Martin at the wheel of the car, the Belgian driver, back with the VDS squad, for whom he was, of course, a key part back in BMW Z4 days over a decade plus ago. And that car didn't look quite so racy at Brands Hatch, but did have better pace yesterday. It was 8th in the race, Maxime Martin and Lukas Stolz, the two drivers. Of course, the second driver today is thrown into the car for the first time all day, mid-race, and he's got to be absolutely on the money, where he's done nothing at all in the car all day. No driving, nothing, unless you're Gabriele Piana and you have raced in GT4. But for everybody else, you are completely cold getting into the car. 78, Hugo Cook, Sandy Mitchell's Lamborghini. That went well yesterday. Hugo Cook, particularly impressive, really spirited in his defensive position, and he's going to be the first one out, I think. The Cheshire-based driver, second-generation GT racer. His father, Peter, used to be a rapid Porsche peddler, and with 6 minutes and change on the clock, we've got a car on track.
Yeah, finally. It's like 90s F1, isn't it? When the session used to be way too long.
And the Minardi would go out first. Exactly. It's always a Minardi.
So I fancy some tequila this early on, watching the Barwell Lamborghini sponsorship, so it's worked on me. But yeah, I mean, 6 minutes remaining now, and with the outlaps, probably going to be a minute 45, even 2 minutes if you're there. But then into 4 minutes, and like we expected, the first one to blink creates the wave. There's a welcome Hurst. Aston Martin heads out. Sorry, that had quite a lot of damage yesterday as well. So the hardship laps were used by 5 cars this morning to just check everything, and it just means they can go into qualifying knowing everything is A-OK. Track looking relatively clean. By that, I can't see any dust being thrown up from the rear of this Lamborghini Huracan Evo 2. And Mark VDS Boutsen about to release Maxime Martin, and the car controller just looking for a space in pit lane. Suddenly gets very busy, and the car controller is in charge of a safe release. We saw a 5-second penalty, didn't we, for Winwood to Mara Engel for an unsafe release, and that ultimately didn't affect their finishing position, but could have been a lot worse.
And a good sight is the repaired Ford Mustang making its way down the pit lane. So that car in the hands for this session of Romain Andriolo. He will start. He didn't get a drive at all yesterday. 50 and 51 out of the AF Corsa stable are good to go. It is Arthur Leclerc, Charles Brother for 50. It is Vincent Abril, Brands Hatch winner in 51. Alessio Rivera, Mauro Engel, Patrick Niederhauser, the 3 drivers that have taken the pole position through Pro so far. Thierry Vermeulen, Chris Lallam, Gilles Magnus, the drivers that have taken gold pole position so far this season.
I think Hugo Cook needs to back off a bit in sector 3 there, because he is going to fall across maybe 3 or 4 cars on pit exit, and that is the negative of going first. Let's see how lucky and how good he can get on the headlight flasher potentially to create some space. Got past that Garage 59 car, but there are those cars leaving on their outlap. They will be on their mirrors, and you can attract a penalty for blocking on someone's fast lap, but they're on their own program. in terms of an outlap, running wide there. He unwound the lock. Don't think it lost him any time. Shows aggression though, I like it.
So Hugo Cook with the track to himself for the moment, and he's absolutely got that car by the scruff of the neck, determined to try to wring whatever he can out of it before the track gets busy. So he is then, at the moment, quickest, because he's the only person really to have done a lap time within that first sector, as the car then now works its way up towards turn 9.
Yeah, looking pretty good dynamically, the car, but he's got Lalum and Leclerc in front in those two Ferraris, and he's backed out of it already, and that is not what this Pirelli tyre likes. It likes to go once, and it likes to go hard. I wonder why he backed out of it so early. Was it a mistake he had made that we hadn't really accounted for, or was he predicting he was going to get held up by that traffic? We now go back to one of the Boots and VDS cars. Looks like it's on an okay lap dynamically as we go back to one of the Valkenhurst 35 car there. Again, you're just trying to look for the feeling of the car. Is there any oversteer in it? We go on board with that car. Villagomez here diving down the hill soon into turn 11, into the chicane, the slowest point of the lap. Clamber the curb on the right, same on the left, close as you can to the gravel trap, and then unwind the lock. Bit of oversteer there, you can just see his hands quickly open the wheel up, and he's backed out of the lap as well. He was on the brakes too early. It's a hard point to back out there, because now you've got to be full throttle, because if you're not, you're going to affect your next flying lap, because you are full gas all the way through, and that was after a purple sector 2 as well. Of course, it's early on to that. We'll get beaten, I'm sure, but that was a good lap that he bailed out of there, Villagomez, and at the moment, that lap time of 37.1, I predict Pole's going to be anywhere in a high 32, maybe a 33 this morning, with it being a bit cooler.
So right now it is Mathieu Villagomez who's done that top time, a 1:37.1. We've only got 2 more minutes of this part of qualifying to go. Number 50 Ferrari then after Leclerc, personal best within the first sector. But that's not a surprise, because it's the first flying lap that he's done. It's really purples that we need to be looking for, as the Ferrari then now breaks towards turn number 8. And there the Ferrari number 50 accelerating then down towards turn 10. We've also now got treble 7, Jens Klingmann going to the top of the times from the Mustang of Andriolo. So the top time is a 1:34.5. And bear in mind as well that you will end up having to put all the silvers and the bronzes into the mix when we get to their element of the session as well. Here comes Arthur Leclerc then up towards the timing line. Sebastian Newgarde's Audi has just gone top. No, it hasn't, because now number 50 of Arthur Leclerc goes to the top of the times on a 33.4, and Sven Muller, yesterday's winner, goes, well, it was second, it's now third, because we had Jordan Pepper to the top. Now Chris Lalum goes to the top of the times, number 69 Ferrari.
Yeah, 33.3, that's somewhere in the mix. That could be enough, and he did a purple sector 3, which has now just been stolen by Benji Goeth, who has put that McLaren in 5th overall at the moment. Now Ben Green in the sister car to Lalum with a purple sector 1. That was a great lap, 33.1. 10th and a half up on Lalum. That's going to be right on the money. The Ferraris seem alive this morning, don't they? Currently first, second, 4th and 7th. So really good morning for them. It's actually been a good morning for mid-engine cars. It's only really the Porsche. Now Meyer Engel pops in a lap just to take away the point I was going to try and make. But yeah, a bit slower this morning than it was. What's Van der Linde got? 33.6. That's not really in the ballpark, is it? Just inside the top 10. P8 for Van der Linde. Just looking down, we've now only got 20 seconds remaining. So Van der Linde will get this lap if he wants it. But we're not really seeing many improvements on the second lap as predicted, and I think that will be a track limit warning. It has been a hot spot, turn 3. You can see all 4 tyres were over the white line. Garage 59 mechanics look like they have had a heavy night, and they're just about keeping their eyes open in this very early morning qualifying session.
And the flag is out then, qualifying at an end with Ben Green currently top then, number 14 Ferrari. It's a Emil Frey 1-2 in fact, because you've got Ben Green ahead of Chris Lalum at the moment. There is treble 7, that's Jens Klingmann, who was briefly fastest. He's now 15th in the times. We've got lap times being taken off 1 or 2 people, such as 88, which is Sebastian Newgarde's Audi. Now this is Mauro Engel. He's got pole position at Brands Hatch, and Engel is currently 6th fastest, and he's backed it out in the middle sector. So Engel is not going to be an improver. It looks like he's still pressing on, but he's dropped a little bit of time within sector 2, so it's going to be a really, really courageous last sector. 63, which is the Jordan Pepper Lamborghini. That's had a lap time taken off it. More and more lap times are disappearing, I have to tell you, as Engel bails, comes into the pit lane, no improvement. and he will end up 5th fastest.
Yeah, as we see, that's a hugely deep break there from Van der Linde. Interesting, must have just gone for a bit of a Hail Mary into the chicane, probably looking at the delta, realising I'm down, so I might as well see if I can make something stick. But that is really difficult for Pepper there, taking that lap away from him. And suddenly he was going to be at the start, and now hasn't got a registered time at all now with that track limit deletion. And that is a big problem, and that's something they faced at Brands Hatch. It was a team issue that time, and this one looks like it's been a driver issue. Just an interesting point on Engel. You could see he backed out the chicane, then he picked the pace up, and I was assuming he was going to practice coming into the pit lane hot, because that's what he's got to do next time he's in the car. And as a driver, it's mega to get a good pit lane practice pushing all the way to the line. There can be seconds lost in braking too early, getting the speed down too much. You want to come in at the line, 50k, not a k underneath, and that is easy time. And I'm surprised he didn't go for a practice on that front. He actually backed out of it. Car's back in pit lane now, no incidences, so everyone was clean. Like you said, track limits were the hot spot, turn 3 for all of them, and a few cars have been caught out by that.
Impressive stuff, though, from Ben Green, who didn't do anything yesterday, with all due deference to him, because the car was out very early on. So Ben Green's time, 1:33.144, 0.158 of a second up on his teammate, Chris Lulham. Again, impressive stuff, this, for somebody that's done relatively little real-world racing. And just to show you how competitive it is, you've got the top 10 covered by under 9/10 of a second. Now, Maro Engel, under investigation for speeding in the pit lane. We've had quite a lot of people relieved of Euros over the weekend for pit lane speeding infringements, and Maro Engel is being looked at for speeding in the pit lane. And normally, when you're under investigation, the investigation only goes one way, doesn't it? Because something has given race control that information. Yeah,
it's very data-driven these days. GPS speed on all the cars. Looked okay on pit entry, because I was just talking about it, so maybe on pit exit. And yeah, to go back to your point, Ben Green on pole, mega job. Lulham, mega job. And be interesting to see if Alex can get down to Emil Frey and alleviate them of the information of what changes they've made to those cars overnight to get them from outside the top 10 yesterday's qualifying to dominant first and second.
Looking at 63 in the garage then, so Jordan Pepper, like Sebastian Newgarde, as we were saying in the session, no lap time because the times they'd done were taken away for track limit offences. So a bit like Brands Hatch, where Jordan had to start at the back after a BOP infringement, he's going to be at the back here as well. Big frustration. But Ben Green's a happy man. He's fastest by 0.158 of a second from Chris Lulham. Arthur Leclerc third from yesterday's winner Sven Muller. Then Maro Engel fifth ahead of Benji Goethe. Calvin van der Linde, despite his drama at Tarzan Happin. Vincent Abriel 8th, Simon Gachet 9th, and 10th Maxime Martin. Chris Lulham pole in gold. Ben Green, of course, not only the outright pole, but in the Pro Cup. That is 4 different pole position holders across the 4 races in Pro, and a second gold pole of the year for Chris Lulham.
Yeah, a mega job. I've already discounted that he's got no experience. He's that good. I'm just taking him fully on face value. And again, it's another case study for how important sim racing and how important it can be of making a good racing driver.
And like you were saying about him yesterday, his great move around the outside at turn 7. Most, I was going to say normal or rational, real-world drivers think, no, you can't do that. But in iRacing or in esports, you can. And so Chris was prepared to give it a go. And turn 7 is a very, very daunting corner.
Yeah, it's something that with normal experience you wouldn't even consider a move, and at your peril really, and he's thrown that and kicked up the dust in everyone's face and taken the place away.
So qualifying for Group B is ready to go. The car of Sebastian Newgarde, that's already lost its lap times, is now under investigation for going past the checkered flag more than once, but it's not their day, clearly. Really impressive morning for Chris Lulham. He's with Alex Legui.
Chris, that was a mega quali lap. What have you done to these cars? You've been filling them up with Red Bull overnight?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, we have the tyres fired up, ready to go from lap 1. I think that's the key here on this track. Just maximising the tyres and having the car on edge out the box straight away and ready to go for lap 1. Yeah, honestly, it felt a little bit scruffy, but in the end, obviously the lap was okay.
It looked fantastic. What can you tell us about the track this morning?
Yeah, it's quite dusty. I could see already coming onto my flying lap. The car's in front, there's dust flying out, so I didn't really know what to expect coming into turn 1, but I also knew that was going to be the lap to make it happen, so the pressure was on for sure, but yeah, it's obviously not too bad.
Mega result. Great place to be. Well done, Chris.
So again, he will start near the front. How near the front rather depends on the next 10 minutes and the cars that you are about to see, which include the Ibrahim Al Abdul Ghani driven Santalot Racing Run Audi, the Qatari team that we saw in the FIA Motorsport Games, we've seen in the Gulf 12 Hours, we've seen in Asian Le Mans, now coming for a full season of GT World Challenge Europe. And Al Abdul Ghani then behind the wheel of the Audi with lots of dust being spat out from the back of the car there, having run wide coming from turn 9. Interesting that they've sent that car out because I suppose even if the lap time isn't going to come instantly, just a little bit more mileage is no bad thing. And also out of bronze, Andrei Mukovoz is on track as well. Now Ibrahim Al Abdul Ghani slows right down coming to turn 13 and then speeds up again. Not that he's trying to get clear track space, he's the only man out there. And in fact, he nearly wobbles off the road. That was all a bit strange. And the track looking really dusty for him. Yeah,
offline, and Chris Ludham said about it. On the line, I can't see the dust being kicked up too bad, but offline it's definitely come in overnight with those blustery wind gusts we keep getting. But yeah, it's good for these Qatari cars just to get some laps in, but you could hear it lock up under braking and go in deep. So I don't know if that's maybe a tyre temp issue. The team, Santalot, super experienced, but maybe the tyres aren't quite up to temperature. That car is looking lively. Every corner we've watched so far, it looks like it's heading to a scene of an accident, doesn't it? And I hope for their sake the maroon-nosed car here gets some temperature and starts to generate some grip.
Yeah, it doesn't look compliant, to put it kindly, does it? Andrei Mukovoz with the Tresor Attempto Audi is on track as well. So is Dimitri Vatsava in his Imperiale Racing Lamborghini. This then is Ibrahim Al Abdul Ghani, who turns out of turn 8. With the track to himself now, he's looking a little bit more confident, a little bit happier to push, and therefore as the tyres get warmer, this is looking now a bit more stable compared to what it was a real handful on that opening lap of this session.
Yeah, the problem is that first sector is 2.9 seconds off the fastest from earlier on in the session, so this lap at the moment isn't much. Look at those clouds in the background as well, they're pretty ominous. My forecast doesn't have any rain, but my motorsport eyes would say there's a chance of rain at some point. I haven't seen them sunshine out at the moment, so let's focus on the here and the now. Sector 2 slightly down, car looking more compliant now, and we're able to hook up some apexes. Don't worry about that exit, using all of it. The flashing light on the rear bumper, by the way, is only a driver ID, a car ID light. It's nothing going on. It just helps the team, especially at Spa 24 hours. To spot your own car in pit lane makes a bit of a difference.
So 1:39.8 is the first offering from Ibrahim Al Abdul Ghani. This is Dimitri Vatsava, very experienced Lamborghini driver out of Super Trofeo before he came into GT3 racing, and Vatsava then on the run down now to turn 11 through that chicane. This ought to be a fairly rapid car, I would have thought, because he's as I say, an experienced racer, Italian GT Pro-Am champion in the Sprint Cup a couple of years ago, sharing it with the very rapid Loris Spinelli. So decent qualifying, one to watch come the race. Andrei Mukovoz's Audi is now much quicker than the Qatari Audi by 3 seconds, and let's see where this drops Vatsava as it comes across the line. Fastest is the answer, and a 1:36.3, a 10th up on Mukovoz.
Yeah, we're still a long way off the first part of qualifying at the moment. 3 seconds. I would have expected a quicker lap there from that Lamborghini.
But yesterday, certainly as far as bronze was concerned, it was the higher graded driver doing the time, whereas today it is the bronze graded driver in most cases. So perhaps it's a little unfair to expect, however experienced they are, bronzes to match times of the pros and the golds.
Yeah, and it's always hard to, like you said earlier, to just jump in the car and turn it on. First thing is a new set of tyres, low fuel. This is the fastest the car will be all weekend for these drivers. And it's always a great privilege to drive a qualifying car trim, but it does come with an added pressure.
Now this is Gabriel Rindone. He's another former Lamborghini Super Trofeo racer. He shares with Ricardo Fella. This was a quick car yesterday until Fella got knocked off the road by Alessio Rivera. And bronze yesterday won by Bastian Bus and Basha Mardini, who at the moment, Basha has got the fastest of anybody in Sector 1. Let's see where Rindone goes as he comes up to the line. Goes fastest then, Gabriel Rindone's Porsche, the Lion Speed GP entry, 1:36.1. This is Basha Mardini, who was the class winner yesterday. Co-driver Bastian Bus put the car on outright pole position. Yes, outright pole from a Bronze Cup. But he is a very rapid driver, the Porsche Super Cup champion Bastien Boost, so perhaps no real surprise. And Basha Mardini did a good job to hang on to bring the car through home victorious. You could possibly be expecting the Silvers, though, to go to the very top, and Isham Pieris has just done just that for Rutronic Racing in 97 Porsche. Over the line goes Mardini. He goes second then, and the margin is 0.643 of a second. So it's a Porsche 1-2. Silver ahead of bronze. Mardini then quickest in bronze, and now Gilles Stadsbader, another graduate of Super Trofeo Lamborghini Racing. He goes top for WRT, 22 thousandths quicker than the Porsche of Pieris.
Yeah, and that's into 15th overall as well. So, whoa, huge snap of oversteer there. And I think that could have been wind direction related. The wind has suddenly buckled 90 degrees and is now pushing the cars away from the apex of turn 3, and that's definitely how it looked. 2 purples from the Corvette that we jump on board with, some Stella. They got knocked out of the race early on yesterday, so this will be the first time for Salmoniotto to be in the car, powering through the last corner. Where can he be? He needs to be in the 34s to have a chance of being pole in silver at the moment. It's not this first line we cross, it's the second one, so the next one we see, and the lap time is going to be mega. It's going to be a 33.7, and that at the moment is fastest by 1.1 seconds in this session.
But Ezequiel Perez Compact, yesterday's silver winner, is also looking quick, and so too is Aurelien Panis then. So Salman Autio, whose Corvette had to do a hardship lap this morning just to make sure everything was put back together. It was a decent effort. That was another car that was knocked off on lap 1. It was harpooned by the Errand Mustang. Salman Autio didn't get into the car, therefore, in the race yesterday. This is Ezequiel Perez Compact heading possibly for the top. Aurelien Panis has gone second, so it's Salman Autio Corvette, Aurelien Panis Mercedes second, Gilles Stadsbader's BMW third, Esham Pieris Porsche fourth, Baptiste Moulin Lamborghini fifth. So let's see what Compact can do. He's gone back to being a driver rather than trying to run his own team at the same time. Up towards the timing line he will come, and over the line now goes Compact, and that puts him fastest in this group.
Yeah, and puts him right in the middle of the pro cars, isn't it? 8th overall, the sidebar on the side, on the left, sorry, there, combining both sessions, so you can see where these silver and Pro-Am cars are getting in. And you can see another Audi going fast. That's really good middle sector there. It's going to finish the line here. This should be enough to take out, wow, 4th overall, fastest in session. What a lap.
A 1:33 for the driver. We better mention him, Laurens Lecouerture, the former Alpine Euro Cup champion and another of the quick Santa Lock Audis. So Laurens Lecouerture then is the best of the silvers, the best of the bronze. Now Dustin Blackner, who has gone 20th overall, a car that was 3rd in class in the race yesterday, is way up wide there, goes Lecouerture. And Darren Lung we now can't dismiss, nor can we dismiss his teammate Maxime Ouston, because the Paradigm BMW is now looking very rapid. Ouston just edging Darren Lung by doing the absolute best within the first sector in number 992. There, going up towards turn 9, is Baptiste Moulin, and that's 992. That is Maxime Ouston. So he's done the absolute best within the first sector. He knows this circuit pretty well, does Maxime Ouston. Up now towards the chicane at the end of the lap. So he's got to brake hard. He's got to make sure he doesn't run too deep into the corner. Rides the curve on the inside, goes left. Personal best in the middle sector. So anything now in the low 133s is going to be getting him up towards the pointy end of the grid. There's also in the classes the point for pole position. So that's handy for the championship as well. It's the first time we've had Bronze Cup within Sprint Cup, of course, this year. They weren't at Brands. There just wasn't the space. Maxime Ouston, where can he go overall as he comes up towards the timing line? He breaks the beam, and the answer is he goes 4th fastest then. So Maxime Ouston, a good effort. The BMW then goes through 4th in this group. It doesn't actually help him hugely overall, only 13th. So that just emphasises how good Lecouerture's lap was. And there, Lecouerture goes across the line and now is fastest once more within this part of qualifying, a 1:33.482, but he stays 4th overall. But that's a mighty impressive morning.
Really, really good. The Audi looking nice as well as we rode on board of the BMW. Very strong in Sector 1, but it's not a Sector 2 car. As we look at Jeff McGill's here, where's it going to slot here? I'm just trying to work out on the time. I can see from sectors, this could be good enough for maybe 7th in this session at the moment. Let's see as he crosses the line. Is it going to be a 33 or a low 34? It's going to be the latter one. It's a mid 34, 7th. So an okay lap, but Jeff McGill's would want more from that car, I think.
Yeah, that was his only lap, wasn't it? That was the one flying lap he did. So at least he gets sort of a half-decent grid position, 21st. We've had a breach of Part Ferme regulations for a number of cars, one of which, rather significantly, is number 32, the Kelvin van der Linde Charles Witt BMW.
Yeah, 4 cars, but 2 teams. WRT with the 777 along with the 32. You said them 58 and 59 for Garage 59. So, yeah, some big regulations here. And again, like you said earlier about the pit speed, an investigation normally is just telling the team you're about to get a penalty, because there isn't normally a two-sided argument with the officials.
So whether anything comes of that to affect the grid, time will tell. Our second GT World Challenge Europe race of the weekend is going to be this afternoon at around about 2:30. We'll be on air at 2:10 with all the build-up to the race. GT2 and GT4 also racing here this weekend. So if you're a GT fan, perfect place to be this weekend. Next stop for GT World Challenge, 2 weeks' time, Monza, back to the Endurance Cup, and then a bit of a break for the teams before the big one of the season, the CrowdStrike 24 Hours of Spa over the final weekend of June. So Ben Green takes a 3rd career pole position in Sprint Cup for the Emil Frey racing team, and after a tough day yesterday, let's see what they can turn that into come racing. Emil Frey lock out the front row of the grid then. Ben Green ahead of Chris Lullam with more Ferraris next. Arthur Leclerc's AF Corsa example 3rd. Audi 4th, Laurence Leclerc the top silver. Chris Lullam, of course, the top gold. Sven Muller 5th, Mauro Engels 6th, then Benji Goethe ahead of Kelvin van der Linde. The best silver, Ezequiel Perez compact, 9th in the end from Vincent Abril, and a really impressive 11th after the travails of yesterday. Jesse Salmonaucio in the Chevrolet Corvette. Simon Gachet 12th from Maxime Ouston, then Maxime Martin, Aurelien Panis, Kirby Powells, and Louis Pret 2nd in gold, 17th overall ahead of Hugo Cook. Then Jens Klingman, and the Mustang 20th, that's encouraging as well, isn't it, of Romain Andriolo. 21st, Jeff Machiels ahead of Dustin Blattner and Bijoy Garg. Then it's Gilles Stadsbanner, Ishan Pieris from Isaac Tutumlu. Paul Everard quite a long way back for the car that was on gold pole yesterday. He just didn't hook up, did he? Baptiste Moulin next from Mathieu Villa Gomez. Darren Lung, 30th from Renat Salikov. Georgi Donchev next from Bashar Mardini, Dimitri Vatsava. Andre Mukovol's 35th. Then Rodrigo Baptista from Gabriel Rindon. Marco Pulcini, who has a grid drop anyway. He was 38th overall from Ibrahim Al-Abdani. Then Jordan Pepper, no lap time, and Sebastian Ugard, no lap time. They were, of course, done for track limit offences. They're going to have a tough afternoon, because around here, starting 41st, 40th on the grid, as they will have to, there's not a great amount of space to really carve your way through the field, is there?
No, it's brutal as well around here. To get a move done, it needs a bit of leverage, a bit of side-to-side contact, which we saw yesterday. Hard and fair racing we like, and some of it was borderline, and some of it was over the line, and it was penalised fairly, I think.
Jordan Pepper also got penalised at Brands Hatch, didn't he, for having his elbows out 2 weeks ago in Sprint Cup. Then 992, Maxime Ouston's BMW. 4th in silver goes to its garage. The Paradigm Competition run car. Good effort by Maxime Ouston. So Ben Green takes the Rover Pole Position Award. Ben Green for Emil Frey Racing is with Alex.
And there we have it. Ben Green takes the overall pole for our second race here at Zandvoort of the GT World Challenge Europe. Powered by AWS. Well, we know that it's a dusty track then. So what do you think you can do? How can you put together a lap good enough for the start of the race?
Yeah, I think we have to go forwards. You know, we have a nice front row lockout for Emil Frey Racing, which is a great feeling. So, yeah, we can control the start a bit and hopefully just charge forwards from the first lap.
It looks like, and hopefully it will hold off, but it does look like there's a little bit of dark cloud, potential rain. What difference would that make here?
I mean, Zandvoort, the weather can change a lot. You know, by the sea, it's quite windy here. So, yeah, we'll get what we get and we'll just go for it.
Well done.
So very happy Ben Green taking that Rover Motor Oil Pole Position Award. The Ferrari bouncing its way over the curb, coming down to turn 11. And he will start then on pole when we go racing this afternoon. And having had limited work to do yesterday, finally he will not only be able to go racing, but from the best seat in the house. Pole position, inside line for the first corner. And teammate Chris Lullam in the sister Emil Frey racing car lining up alongside. There is the award presented by Alex for Ben Green. All smiles, photos taken, and what he'd now like is a race winner's trophy to go with that, complete the set for the day.
Yeah, get himself over the Ryanair hand luggage allowance is always a nice excuse with trophies, and yeah, good to have Rover on board sponsoring it. Sometimes pole positions are kind of overlooked, and as a driver, it's the purest achievement you can do because it's all down to you. It's not the team. That's how you always tell yourself. But Emil Frey have done a mega job with that car overnight, like I said, and so many setup changes available on these GT3 cars. Be amazing to know what they've done, but for both of them to transform, it's obviously a pretty big change geometry-wise. Would maybe be my guess that they're able to tweak the car and get the car working its tyres well. Is it only going to work in qualifying? Is it a tweak that's not going to help them in the race? And although they're starting at the front, are they going to be able to stay there?
Time will tell as number 30, the Gilles Stadsbader BMW, makes its way now into the scrutineering area. That car out of the Silver Cup. And so for the drivers, they now can go and have a look at the data. The teams can do some head scratching if required and try to work out what they do next to make rapid cars for the second race of the weekend. But it promises to be a fascinating one, that is for sure. So the circuit now being prepared, ready for GT2 action, which is also coming up this weekend. And that offered an interesting race yesterday with Maserati ultimately coming out on top. Still the concern about some rather ominous black clouds. You can see how blustery it is as the Pirelli flags continue to flutter. And come 2 o'clock this afternoon, as the teams are getting ready to head onto the circuit, it could be a rather different track surface.
Yeah, my forecast says 5% chance of rain today, so you can remind me that later when it's bucketing it down. But as Ben said, we're right on the coast here, so the weather can be pretty spectacular, and it changes quickly. And yeah, it's still chilly here. We had big crowds yesterday. I expect them to flock in later on today as well. The Dutch always seem to bring the atmosphere wherever they go.
There you're looking at that final corner, the banked right-hander. These days, a line dyke bocht, as it is called. And certainly drivers were saying, when we heard from GT4 drivers yesterday, how the world almost goes upside down. You get tilted up heading through that corner. But one of the 2 new additions for the revamped Zandvoort circuit, now, of course, playing host to the Dutch Grand Prix once again. The fans there watching on top of the pit lane and seeing the cars, in some cases now being worked on, in some cases being sent to the scrutineering area, in some cases brought down the pit lane ready for the next race here at Zandvoort this weekend. Qualifying for race 2 at Zandvoort then, under rather leaden skies, began with Barwell being eager to send Hugo Cook out on track. Sven Muller, having had a race win yesterday, was another driver pushing hard, trying to carry on that good pace that the Rutronic Racing Porsche had evinced. Ferraris were rapid too, not only the AF Corsa entry of Arthur Leclerc that would be third, but the Emil Frey Racing pair, Chris Lulham ultimately going second overall, and his teammate Ben Green in the red Emil Frey example going faster than anybody. Mauro Engel would be 5th, but then looked at for possibly speeding in the pit lane, having had a bit of a drama going down towards turn 11. Ben Green, though, was mighty, taking outright pole position, giving us 4 different pole position winners within the Pro Cup this year. And then the circuit was offered over to the Silvers and the Bronze Cup cars. The car that was quickest outright yesterday in the hands of Bastien Bus was taken over by Basha Mardini for today. They won on the road in yesterday's race in the Bronze Cup, and Basha Mardini was quick once again. So too was Gilles Stadsbader in the WRT BMW. The best of the Silvers, though, was Ezekiel Perez Companc for the Tresor Attempto racing team in the Audi. Maxime Ouston had been good in his BMW as well. And then when you put the 2 groups together, it gives a really jumbled grid. Lawrence Leclerc, having taken pole position in gold, a real star. So we look forward then to our second race of the weekend. We'll be on air from 2:10 this afternoon. Join us for the drama.